Hi.
So, this all started a few months ago. My fiancé, Dominic, and I had been together for 5 years, engaged for 8 months, and everything had seemed fine. I thought we were on track for this perfect wedding. You know, all those plans, the excitement, the joy. But as the days went by, something started to feel off. At first, it was small stuff. Like, he'd get quiet when I'd talk about the wedding. I'd ask him if he was excited, and he'd brush it off with some half-hearted, "Yeah, sure." Then came the comments. Not the sweet kind of talk I expected, but more like weird, offhand remarks. One night, we were talking about life after the wedding, and he says something along the lines of, "I don't know, I guess marriage sounds kind of permanent. What if we change, you know?" I laughed it off at first, thinking maybe he was just nervous. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he was pulling away. It wasn't long before he started acting distant, like he was putting up walls. His texts were slower. He'd be out late for work or hang out with friends after, which didn't bother me at first, until I realized he was spending a lot of time with his coworker, Erica. I don't like to jump to conclusions, but I knew something wasn't adding up. The signs were there. Still, I tried to be patient. I wanted to believe that maybe I was just overthinking it. Maybe he was just stressed out, or maybe I was just being paranoid. But the more I pushed those thoughts away, the more they started to eat at me. What's worse is I didn't feel like I could talk to anyone about it. My friends would say I was just freaking out about the wedding, and Dominic would just shut me down, like I was the one who had the problem. Then one night, at dinner, everything came crashing down. Dominic made a comment in front of our friends that completely blindsided me. We were talking about the wedding and the future, and he looked at me with this cold stare and said, "I mean, I'd probably be more excited if you were prettier. I guess I'll just get used to it." I sat there in shock, the words hanging in the air. I didn't know how to respond. Was he serious? Was he joking? It didn't feel like a joke. Our friends just laughed it off, probably thinking it was some kind of playful banter. But I could feel my stomach drop. It wasn't just cruel, it was humiliating. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his words over and over, trying to figure out how I missed all the signs. How did I not see this coming? How did I not see that he was no longer the person I thought I was marrying? I tried to talk to him about it the next day, but he just shrugged it off like it was no big deal. "Come on, babe, it was a joke. You know I didn't mean it." But I knew. I knew it wasn't a joke. That comment wasn't something you just brush off. And that's when I realized I couldn't ignore it anymore. Something was wrong. I couldn't figure out if it was me or if it was him, but I knew one thing for sure, things between us had changed. I needed space. I needed time to think. So, I reached out to my brother, who'd always been my rock. I wasn't sure how to move forward, but I knew I couldn't do it alone. Not anymore. A few days after the awful dinner, I couldn't keep it inside anymore. Dominic's comment had been eating me up, and I needed answers. So, I confronted him when we were both home from work. He was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone, acting like everything was normal. "Dominic," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "we need to talk about what you said the other night." He glanced up, casual as ever. "What do you mean? It was just a joke." "No, it wasn't. You humiliated me in front of our friends. How could you say something like that?" He sighed, like he was annoyed. "I didn't mean it. I've just been stressed with the wedding, and it got to me. I didn't realize it would hurt you so much. I wasn't buying it. It wasn't just a joke, Dominic. You've been distant for weeks, barely texting back, spending more time with Erica. And then you say something like that?" He paused, looking guilty, but quickly shrugged it off. "I didn't mean it, I swear. I love you. I'm just not sure if I'm ready for marriage." Those words hit me hard. "So, after all this time, you're telling me you're not ready? You've been pushing me away and now this?" "I didn't realize how badly I was hurting you," he said, his voice softer now. "I'm just scared." I shook my head, feeling my heart break. "You should have talked to me about this. We're supposed to be partners, but right now I feel invisible." There was silence for a moment, then he apologized again, but it didn't change how I felt. "I need space, Dominic. I can't keep ignoring everything that's happened." I walked out, needing some distance. I went to my brother's place to clear my head. As I sat there, I realized I wasn't just angry, I was heartbroken. This wasn't just a fight. It felt like the beginning of the end. The days after our conversation were brutal. Dominic tried texting, sending some half-hearted apologies, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. He didn't seem to understand the depth of what he'd said, or how much it had affected me. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that something had changed in me too. I stayed at my brother's for a few nights. He wasn't thrilled about me being there, but he understood. I needed space, and I couldn't just go back to our apartment like everything was fine. Every time I thought about going back, the image of Dominic's face when he said he wasn't sure if he was ready for marriage just kept playing in my mind. It was like he was giving up on us before we'd even had the chance to try. I stayed away from my phone, too. I didn't want to keep looking at his texts, trying to figure out if I should forgive him, or if I was being too harsh. But then came the call I didn't expect. My best friend, Mia, called me up, asking if we could meet. She'd heard what happened, and I could tell from the way she was talking that she wasn't going to sugarcoat it. So, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, figuring I needed some outside perspective. When I sat down across from her, she looked at me seriously. "You're not going back to him, are you?" I hesitated, biting my lip. "I don't know. Part of me wants to, but I feel like everything's changed. I don't even know who he is anymore. He's not the person I thought I was marrying." Mia nodded, her gaze steady. "Look, you deserve better. You deserve someone who's all in, not someone who's questioning if they're ready for marriage. You're not his backup plan, you're his partner. You need to be with someone who wants you just as much as you want them." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I had spent so much time worrying about Dominic's feelings and how to fix things that I hadn't thought about myself. Maybe I had been too afraid to admit that I wasn't sure if I could forgive him. That comment, those little betrayals, had done something to me that I couldn't just undo. When I left that coffee shop, I felt lighter. I didn't have all the answers yet, but I knew one thing: I couldn't just go back to how things were. I needed to figure out what I really wanted, not what I thought I should want. The next day, Dominic texted me again. "I miss you. Can we talk?" I didn't respond right away. I needed time. Time to think, time to breathe. And I needed to stop letting his uncertainty define mine. 2 days after that coffee shop talk with Mia, I finally went back to the apartment to grab some clothes and essentials. I didn't plan to stay long, I just needed to get in, get out. Dominic wasn't home. I figured he was at work, or maybe with Erica. The thought made my stomach turn. As I was packing up a duffel bag, my phone buzzed. A notification from our shared iPad popped up. His iMessages were still synced to it. I hadn't thought about it until that moment, and I don't know what made me look, but I did. It was a message from Erica. "Hey, just checking in. You okay after what happened the other night?" I still think she overreacted. "You were just being honest." My hands froze over the zipper. Then another one came in. I meant what I said. "You don't need to feel guilty for having doubts. She doesn't see you, not like I do." I just stood there, reading those words over and over, my heart pounding in my ears. Not like I do? She knew. She knew about what happened between us. And she was defending him, encouraging him. That weird vibe I got every time she was around Dominic, how she'd get all friendly and too comfortable, it all made sense now. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't imagining things. Dominic hadn't just hurt me with his words, he had someone else in his corner the entire time, feeding the doubts, maybe even planting them. I took a screenshot. Then another, and another. There were weeks of texts between them. Flirty jokes. Inside conversations. Some subtle, some not so subtle. Nothing blatantly sexual, but enough to feel like I'd been replaced emotionally a long time ago. My chest felt hollow. I dropped the bag, sat down on the edge of the bed, and just stared at the iPad like it had just punched me in the face. He was already halfway gone, and I'd been trying to figure out how to save something that clearly didn't matter to him the same way it mattered to me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. Cold. Numb. And for the first time since this all started, I wasn't unsure anymore. I knew I was done. I didn't waste any time after that. I knew what I had to do, even though every part of me was screaming not to. It was clear now, Dominic had already emotionally checked out. The lies, the flirtation with Erica, the distance, it all added up. And I couldn't pretend anymore that I wasn't hurt, or that I could somehow make things work. I waited until he came home that evening. I needed to see him, face to face, and say what I should have said a long time ago. When he walked in, I was sitting on the couch, my hand steady, but my heart still racing. He smiled at me, the same way he always did, but there was a hesitation in his eyes, like he knew something was off. "Hey, babe," he said, walking over to me. "How was your day?" I didn't even respond. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of pretending everything was okay anymore. "Dominic," I started, my voice firm. "We need to talk." He froze, that familiar nervous energy creeping in. "Yeah, sure. About what?" I reached for my phone, pulling up the screenshots of his messages with Erica. I showed them to him without saying a word. His face went pale, and for a second, he didn't know what to say. He opened his mouth a few times, trying to find some excuse, but there was nothing. There was nothing he could say to justify this. "Erica?" I said, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. "Is this who you've been turning to?" Is this who you've been confiding in while I've been sitting here, trying to save our relationship? I didn't mean for it to go this far, he stammered, his eyes darting to the ground. It's just, she's been there for me, you know? I didn't want to burden you with my doubts. I laughed bitterly. Doubts? You had doubts about us for months, Dominic. And instead of talking to me, you let her fill your head with whatever crap she was feeding you. I didn't want to hurt you, he whispered, his voice barely audible now. I'm sorry. I really am. I messed up. You messed up? I shot up from the couch, the anger I'd been holding back finally spilling over. You destroyed everything. You've been emotionally cheating on me for who knows how long, and now you want to apologize like it's just a small mistake? You humiliated me, Dominic. He took a step toward me, but I held up my hand to stop him. No. Don't come near me. I don't need your apologies. I don't need you. It's over. I could see the panic in his eyes, the realization that everything was slipping through his fingers. But it was too late. The damage was done. I'm sorry. Please, he begged, his voice cracking. Can't we talk about this? Please don't do this. I shook my head, tears welling in my eyes, but I wasn't going to let him see me break. Not this time. You made your choice, Dominic. You chose her. You chose doubts over me. And I'm done. I walked out the door, leaving him standing there, and didn't look back. The pain of what I was leaving behind hit me like a freight train, but as I stepped out into the cool night air, I knew I had made the right choice. I was done fighting for a relationship that had already ended. It's been a week since I left Dominic, and honestly, I'm still processing everything. I've been staying with my brother, just trying to keep my mind off of all the hurt. It's been tough, but I'm starting to feel a little more calm. I guess I'm just relieved that I finally took control of my own life again, instead of clinging to a relationship that was falling apart. Dominic's tried reaching out a few times, texts, voicemails, even a few missed calls, but I haven't picked up. Part of me wants to hear him out, maybe get some closure, but another part of me knows there's nothing he can say to change what's already happened. He had his chance to fix things, and he blew it. Now I need to focus on me. I had a long talk with Mia a couple of days ago. She's been the one person who hasn't judged me for how I've handled everything. She told me that I did the right thing, that I deserve someone who actually sees me, who puts me first, and doesn't make me feel like I'm second-guessing myself all the time. She said I'd be better off without him, even if it felt painful right now. Honestly, it's still painful. I still find myself thinking about the good times, about how it used to feel to be with him. There were so many memories, so many moments where I truly believed we were a team. But those memories are starting to fade now, replaced by the truth of how he treated me in the end. I think I just needed to let myself mourn the relationship before I could truly let go of it. I'm not sure what the future holds for me yet. I'm taking things day by day. My brother suggested I try some new hobbies, get back into things I've neglected. I've started working on my photography again, something I loved doing before everything got so complicated. It feels nice to have something that's just for me. I've also been leaning on my friends more. I didn't realize how much I had distanced myself from them while I was wrapped up in the relationship. But now, I'm slowly rebuilding those connections, focusing on what I can control, and starting to remember who I am outside of being with someone else. Dominic's texts still pop up on my phone, but every time I see one, I remind myself, this is the same person who chose doubt over me, the same person who let someone else fill his head with things that didn't belong. I'm moving forward. Slowly, but I'm moving. And that's all I can ask for right now. It's been a few weeks since I walked away from Dominic, and I'm starting to feel like myself again. It's strange, sometimes I catch myself thinking about him, especially when I hear a song or see a place we used to go. But then, almost immediately, I remind myself of why I had to leave. Those thoughts don't linger anymore. I've been keeping busy. Photography has been my escape. Every weekend, I head out to a new place with my camera, just losing myself in the shots I take. It's calming. And I've started to share my work on social media again, something I used to love doing but stopped because Dominic thought it was a waste of time. It's funny how, without realizing it, I let someone else's opinions shape what I did with my life. Now, I'm doing things because I want to. I'm finding pieces of myself that I forgot existed. Mia's been amazing. She's been the friend I needed, the one who didn't try to fix me, but just sat with me while I figured things out. We went out for coffee the other day, and I told her I was starting to feel like I could breathe again. Like I could finally think clearly without the weight of Dominic hanging over me. You're doing great, she said, smiling at me. And you're not just surviving, you're thriving. It's going to take time, but you've already made it through the hardest part. It felt good to hear that, especially from someone who's known me for so long. I've realized I've been surrounded by people who love me, even when I've been too caught up in someone else's world to notice. My friends have been checking in more, and I've even had a few old acquaintances reach out, asking if I want to catch up. One of the most surprising things that happened was a message from my ex-coworker, James. We were never close, but we used to hang out after work sometimes, and he knew about my relationship with Dominic. I didn't think he'd still be around, but he sent me a text out of nowhere saying, "Hey, I hope you're doing okay. If you ever need a friend or a distraction, I'm around." At first, I didn't know what to make of it. But then I realized, this wasn't about moving on too fast or jumping into something else. It was about rebuilding the life I let slip away, and maybe that included opening myself up to new connections. Not rushing anything, but just seeing where things go. I haven't responded to Dominic's texts, and I don't think I will. I've come to terms with the fact that this chapter of my life is closed. I can't go back to what was, and I don't want to. I deserve someone who values me, not just when it's convenient, but always. And I'm not going to settle for less than that. I've still got a lot of healing to do, but I feel stronger every day. I'm learning to trust myself again, and I think that's the most important thing I could do right now. I'm moving forward, step by step, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. It's been a few months now, and I can honestly say that I'm in a better place than I ever thought I'd be. It's crazy how much life can shift when you finally let go of something that's been dragging you down for so long. The healing process isn't linear, but I'm learning to embrace the ups and downs. The truth is, I never expected to feel this strong. I thought leaving Dominic would break me, maybe even destroy me, but instead, it's been the catalyst for my growth. I'm no longer holding on to what could have been. I've realized that sometimes, the best way to move forward is to stop trying to fix something that's already broken. I've been seeing a therapist recently, which has helped me process everything I went through with Dominic. It's been eye-opening. I've learned that it wasn't just his actions that hurt me, but how I allowed myself to get lost in the relationship. I lost my sense of self, my interests, my boundaries. All for what? A man who wasn't as invested as I was? Who made me feel less than, constantly questioning my worth? No more. I've also started putting myself out there again, socially, I mean. Not in a let's go on dates and move on immediately kind of way, but just reintroducing myself to the idea of being with people. I went to a couple of parties, met some new people through friends, and reconnected with old ones. It's been refreshing to just exist without constantly thinking about what someone else needed from me. There's been a shift in how I view relationships too. I'm no longer in a rush to find someone else. For the first time in my life, I feel okay being single. I'm okay with being on my own, with the idea that I'm enough as I am. If someone comes along who matches my energy, that's great. If not, that's fine too. I'm not desperate for validation anymore. A couple of weeks ago, I got a message from Dominic. He said he was sorry for how things ended, that he realized he was wrong, and that he hoped we could talk. I won't lie, part of me was tempted to respond, to get closure, to maybe hear him out. But then I thought about it. I've moved on. There's nothing left to say. So, I didn't respond. It feels good to finally be in control of my own narrative. To not feel like I have to explain myself to anyone. I'm proud of how far I've come, and I know I'm not done yet. There's still a lot of growth ahead, but I'm ready for it. Life's not perfect, and I'm still learning, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. I'm not broken anymore. I'm stronger, wiser, and more sure of myself than I've ever been. And that, to me, is worth more than anything I could have had with Dominic. It's been several months since I left Dominic, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. The healing process has been slow, but it's real. The biggest change has been rediscovering joy, something I didn't realize I was missing. I had forgotten what it was like to just be happy without the constant doubts and pressure of a relationship. A few weeks ago, I took a solo trip to the beach. It wasn't about escaping, it was just me, the ocean, and the freedom to think. Walking along the shore, I felt peace for the first time in so long. It reminded me that I can be okay on my own. I've also spent more time with my family, reconnecting with the people who love me unconditionally. My mom made me laugh until my stomach hurt, and my dad's quiet pride was comforting. It was a reminder that I'm not alone and that I have a strong support system. Dating again has been a slow, casual process. I met someone named Luke recently through a friend. He's great, but I'm not rushing anything. I've learned to enjoy getting to know people without the pressure of trying to make something work. I'm focusing on enjoying the moment, not seeking validation. While I haven't forgotten what happened with Dominic, I'm no longer second-guessing myself. I know I made the right choice. I'm living for me now, not for someone else's doubts or insecurities. The future is wide open, and I'm excited for whatever comes next. For the first time in a long time, I'm truly okay with that. It's been nearly half a year since I walked away from Dominic, and I can honestly say I feel like a different person now. Stronger. More in control. There's been a lot of growth in this time, and even though it hasn't been easy, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I thought I'd be tempted to reach out to Dominic again, maybe even go back to him. That feeling still lingers sometimes, like when I see couples together or hear a song we used to love. But then I remind myself of how things ended. I remind myself that no matter how much I once loved him, I deserve someone who won't make me question my worth. And then, last week, I got a text from him. It was short, a simple, "I miss you. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time. A part of me wanted to respond, to hear him out, to find closure. But another part of me knew that I had already done the work. I had already let go. Talking to him again wouldn't change what happened, it wouldn't undo the hurt. I didn't respond. That decision, simple as it seems, felt like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I don't need his apologies anymore. I don't need answers. I've found my own closure, and it's the peace that comes with walking away and staying true to myself. I'm still moving forward. I'm still learning, still growing. But I'm not looking back. And for the first time, I'm finally okay with that. It's been months since I walked away from Dominic, and every day feels like a step further from the person I was when I was with him. The pain is still there, sometimes, but it's not as sharp. It's more like a dull ache, something I can live with, because I know it's a reminder of how far I've come. I've been focusing more on the things that make me happy, like photography, spending time with friends, and just enjoying my own company. I've started doing things that I've put off for years. It feels good to finally put myself first, to make choices that benefit me and not someone else. I've also realized that healing isn't a straight path. Some days I feel like I'm making so much progress, and other days, I miss the comfort of the relationship I had with Dominic. But the difference now is that I can look at those feelings and not let them control me. I know I'm better off without him, and that's what keeps me moving forward. As for dating, I've kept things light. I've gone out with a few people, and while it's nice, I'm not rushing into anything. I'm not looking for someone to fill the void that Dominic left. I'm learning to enjoy the present, to be okay with where I'm at right now. Luke, the guy I mentioned before, and I have been hanging out more. It's been casual and fun, and I'm not putting any pressure on it. Honestly, it's refreshing to just be able to connect with someone without the weight of expectations. The biggest lesson I've learned is that I'm enough as I am. I don't need anyone to validate my worth, and I don't need a relationship to feel complete. I'm still learning to embrace my own company, and that's something I'll continue to work on. So, where do I go from here? Honestly, I don't know. But I'm okay with that. I'm taking life one step at a time, trusting that the right things will come when I'm ready. And for the first time, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. It's been even longer now, and honestly, I don't even think about Dominic much anymore. Sure, there are moments when something reminds me of him, an old song or a familiar place, but they don't sting like they used to. Instead, I've come to see those memories as part of my journey, not something that keeps me tied to the past. I think the biggest change is the peace I've found. It's not the kind of peace you get by avoiding the hard stuff, but the peace that comes from facing it head-on and walking away stronger. I've spent so much time learning to trust myself again, to believe that I can make choices that are right for me. It's been freeing. I've started taking more chances. I joined a local photography group, and it's been incredible to meet like-minded people who share the same passion. I've gone on small trips, explored new places, and discovered parts of myself I'd forgotten about. I don't feel like I need someone else to fill the gaps in my life anymore. I'm learning to be content with who I am, where I am. There are days when I think about the future, and I still feel uncertain. But that's okay. I've learned that I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't need to force anything. I'm just letting life unfold, one day at a time. As for Luke, we're still hanging out, but we're both on the same page about not rushing anything. It's nice to have someone around who respects my pace. But even if things don't go anywhere, I'm not upset. I'm at a place where I'm okay with whatever happens. I'm not looking for validation. I'm just enjoying being present, living my life. The truth is, I don't miss the chaos of my old relationship. I don't miss the doubt, the questioning, the feeling of never being good enough. What I have now is a sense of calm, a sense of self-worth, and the knowledge that I can stand on my own 2 feet. I'm still healing, still growing, but I'm doing it at my own pace. And for the first time in a long time, I'm completely at peace with that. It's been over a year now since I left Dominic, and I can honestly say I feel like I've lived a lifetime in that time. So much has changed. I've changed. The person I was before is still there, but she's different, stronger, wiser, and far more in tune with what I want out of life. I've found a new rhythm. Life doesn't feel like it's on hold anymore. I wake up each day with a sense of purpose. I've thrown myself into my photography career more seriously, and the joy I feel when I pick up my camera is something I didn't even realize I'd been missing. It's become not just a hobby but something I'm starting to see as part of my future. I've been thinking a lot about relationships, too. The idea of love used to feel so heavy for me, like it was something I had to chase or prove. Now, I see it differently. If love happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's fine too. What matters now is that I love myself enough to not settle. I've stopped seeking validation from others and started finding it within myself. Luke and I are still in touch. We've kept things low-key, no pressure, and it feels right. There's a comfort there that I didn't know I needed. But if it doesn't turn into something deeper, I'm not bothered. I've come to realize that I'm whole, with or without someone else by my side. The hardest part of all this wasn't walking away from Dominic, it was letting go of the life I thought we were going to have. I had to let go of all the expectations I'd placed on myself, on the relationship, on our future. But once I did, it was like a weight was lifted. I can breathe easier now, and I'm starting to enjoy the small moments again, things that used to feel insignificant. They don't anymore. The future is still unknown, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm excited. And for the first time, I feel like I'm finally heading in the right direction, not because I have all the answers, but because I'm trusting myself to figure it out along the way. It's crazy how much I've changed in just over a year. When I look back at the person I was when I first walked away from Dominic, I barely recognize her. She was so full of doubt, so unsure of herself. She was trying to fix something that was already broken, hoping for a future that wasn't meant to be. Now, I'm learning to let go of the past completely, not just the relationship, but all the baggage that came with it. The fear of being alone. The self-doubt. The worry that I wasn't enough. All of that used to haunt me, but not anymore. I've finally realized that I am enough, just as I am. And I don't need anyone else to prove that to me. It feels liberating, honestly. I've started living for me. Not for anyone's expectations, not for someone else's idea of what my life should be. I'm doing things that make me happy, even if it's just something small, like taking an afternoon walk, experimenting with new photography techniques, or sitting down with a book I've been wanting to read for months. Luke and I are still in each other's lives, but there's no pressure. We've talked openly about how neither of us is in a rush for anything serious. And you know what? That feels right. I'm not looking for a whirlwind romance. I'm not looking for anything at all, really, other than what feels authentic. The biggest thing I've learned is that I don't need to rush into anything, whether it's a relationship, a career decision, or anything else. The peace I've found by slowing down has been one of the greatest gifts of all. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing that wherever life takes me, I'm going to be okay. I don't need someone else to make me feel whole. I'm whole on my own. Looking back at my time with Dominic, I see how much I was willing to overlook. The things I sacrificed. The way I lost myself trying to make someone else happy. But I've forgiven myself for that. I needed that experience to understand what I truly deserve, and more importantly, what I won't settle for again. I'm excited for the future, but for the first time, I'm not rushing to get there. I'm taking it one day at a time, knowing that the right things will come when I'm ready. And if they don't, that's okay too. I've learned to embrace the uncertainty, because in it, I've found the freedom to live life on my own terms. I'm at peace with where I am. And that's all I need right now. It's been over a year since I walked away from Dominic, and I honestly feel like I've entered a whole new chapter of my life. When I think about everything that happened, it feels like a distant memory now, not something that defines me. I'm no longer that person who doubted her worth, who begged for attention and love. I'm someone who's learned how to stand on her own 2 feet and be proud of who she is. Things with Luke have continued to stay casual, but I've realized that it's not about whether we turn into something serious. It's about the fact that I'm learning to enjoy someone's company without rushing into labels. And even if nothing comes of it, that's okay. What I've realized is that I'm not in a hurry anymore. I've been so focused on building a life that feels right that I'm no longer trying to make things fit just for the sake of it. Photography has become such a big part of my life now. It's not just a hobby, it's a way of connecting with the world in a way I never could before. I've started showcasing my work in galleries, and the response has been incredible. It's surreal to see something I've worked on get the recognition it deserves, and it's also a reminder of how far I've come. The most important thing, though, is the relationship I've built with myself. I've learned that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. I've spent so much of my life waiting for someone to fill a gap that I didn't even realize was already filled. I'm whole on my own. Sometimes I still think about Dominic. I wonder where he is, how he's doing, if he's changed. But those thoughts don't bring pain anymore. They don't consume me like they once did. I think about it, acknowledge it, and then move on. The most freeing thing I've learned is that my happiness doesn't depend on anyone else, not on Dominic, not on Luke, not on anyone. It comes from within me. I've built a life that I love, and that's something no one can take away from me. As I move forward, I'm not waiting for something to happen. I'm not chasing after anything or anyone. I'm simply living, enjoying the moments, and embracing the uncertainty of what comes next. And for the first time, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is my story. This is my new beginning. And it's just the start.
Bye.